Okay, so this is my review on the Trek Fuel EX8 XT 2021 model. I've had this bike for about 13 months now. I probably put about 900 miles on it. And in this video, I'm gonna be going over things I like about the bike, things I don't like about it, some of the repairs and maintenance I've done to the bike, some of the upgrades, and my overall thoughts about the bike and what I recommend it. All right, the very first upgrade or customization that I did to the bike was I upgraded the rear hub from a 54 point of engagement to 108 point of engagement. Basically, I just took apart the free hub body and added 3 more paws and springs. The bike stock comes with 3 paws and 3 springs. It equals to 54 points of engagement, and I pretty much added 3 more. That free hub body allows you to add 3 more springs for a total of 6 springs, 6 paws for extra engagement. And for parts, it cost about 30 bucks. I did have to buy the tool to remove the cassette. It has that real nice sound too. And you can just see how much engagement is in there now. The bike stock does not come with any volume spacers in the fork, because I noticed I was bottoming out, and after checking the sag and checking the pressure, I was still finding that I was bottoming out pretty regularly. So what I did was I added 3 volume spacers, and I just bought them from the local Trek store for about $2 each. And I do have a video of that, and I'll go ahead and link that. So this is one of the volume spacers that is inside the fork. $2 each, and I got 4 of them originally, but I ended up only going with 3. So basically, they just click in together. You just stack them up inside here, and that'll make the bike a little more progressive and keep you from bottoming out so easily. It increases the bottom out resistance. Also, I added a bigger volume spacer to the shock. The bike came with this green Fox volume spacer stock. It's a 0.4 inch, and I went ahead and replaced it with the largest one in the kit, which I believe was a 0.9. So this is the kit that I got from Worldwide Cyclery. It comes with all these different spacers, and there's one more. The one that's in there now is a red one. It's the biggest. It's a 0.9, so that's what I have in there now. It's the most it's as progressive as it can be with the spacers. So right around the 8-month mark, I actually rebuilt the rear shock. I did make a video of that. Check that out. And Fox recommends you rebuild it about every 50 hours of riding, and I was right around there, and everything looked good in the shock. I mean, all the seals were still pretty good. The cylinder here was good, the sleeve, everything was good on it, and so it was good to do the maintenance on it, and I probably will be doing that again pretty soon. The kit was relatively cheap, I think 25-30 bucks, and it takes about 15 to 20 minutes to rebuild it. And I also rebuilt the fork already. There's a video of that as well. I originally wanted to upgrade the fork to 150 millimeter travel, going from 140. Unfortunately, the air shaft that I bought did not fit the fork. I found out later on that what I needed to do was actually take these numbers here on the fork and order the air shaft that way. I was just going off the fork stanchion and the year, and I got it wrong. So I plan on doing the fork service again in a couple weeks, and I'm gonna go ahead and order the right air shaft and upgrade it to 150. But everything in the fork looked pretty good as well. I didn't see any major issues with it, no damage. And I was able to do the lower leg service, change out the oils. and the seals as well. The Mino link here, it came low when I bought it, and I switched it to high, but it just felt it made climbing easier. But going downhill, it just made me feel like I was too far forward over the front of the bike, and kind of felt like I was, you know, any little slip up I would go over the bars. So I changed that back to the low setting. That also, in the high, it brings your bottom bracket height up. I'm not sure how much. It wasn't really much. In the low, it drops it down a little bit, but I'd rather have that stability going downhill than climbing, because it climbs just as good in the low position. All right, so some of the things that I've had to repair on this bike in the course of a year. So for whatever reason, probably about the 10-month mark, I was doing regular maintenance on the bike, and the rear skewer, the rear axle, seized up inside the frame here. The thread's right into here. It seized up to where it would not loosen up, where I was unable to remove it. I have a little bit of anti-seize on there, but so basically it would not unthread. And after a while, after trying to get it with Allen wrenches, it actually ended up stripping that out till it was rounded off. So I actually had to take an easy out and drive it in, and I was able to get it out, but I ended up destroying it. So it actually broke into 2 pieces, but I was able to get it out, and nothing else was damaged but the rear axle. So I went into Trek and ordered a new one, and it came within a week. And I still don't know why it got stuck, but from now on I've been using anti-seize on the threads and some inside on the rear axle itself to keep it from happening again, and it's been good so far. Another thing I had to do is I actually got about a 1-inch thick branch stuck in between my derailleur and the spokes, and it actually bent the derailleur hanger where my shifting was off, and I was able to finish my ride. But as soon as I got back, I went ahead and just replaced the derailleur hanger. I always keep a spare. Replaced the derailleur hanger, put everything back together, and the bike was good. Shifting was perfect. I didn't have to mess with the barrel adjuster or my A and B stops or my B screw, nothing. Just replaced the derailleur hanger, and that fixed the issue. Around the 11th month mark, I noticed my brakes were really spongy. Mostly my rear brake. The left brake seemed pretty good up until then. And what I did was I did a brake lever bleed, and I have a video of that as well, so check that video out. It took about 5-10 minutes to do that, and the brakes are real quick and not spongy at all. I went ahead and did the front brake as well, and there was a little bit of air in there. You could see when I took these little caps off, I noticed there was no fluid visible, so I went ahead and topped that off, and the brakes have been good ever since. So last month, another thing too was I was actually doing a pretty big climb at one of my local trails here, and this spoke here, you can see how some of the paint has come off of it from me using the wrench on it, the spoke wrench. So this spoke actually broke as I was climbing. I guess it was just under a lot of tension. I'm not sure what happened. It might have been from when that branch got stuck in between the wheel and the derailleur. Might have weakened this spoke enough so where it just broke as I was climbing. And all I did was I pulled over. I actually took the spoke and bent it around one of these. Just bent it around that to keep it from moving around, and I was able to finish my ride like that. As soon as I got back the next day, I went ahead and replaced the spoke. I didn't make a video of it. But all I did was I removed this, I unthreaded the spoke from the nipple, took it all the way out without taking the tire off. I took the wheel off, took the disc rotor off, and I was able to thread that new spoke back through and actually just thread it into the nipple. And from there I just went around and checked the spoke tension and the alignment, and it was good. All right, things that I like about the bike, or love about this bike. This bike really does the job when it comes to climbing, getting up them steep climbs, and also going downhill. It does great. The bike does not feel too plush, does not feel like hitting rock bottom. The suspension does a good job, it feels good. The XT drivetrain has been excellent. It's always shifting. I haven't had to adjust the barrel adjuster or anything. Haven't had to adjust the cable, nothing. This bike has been shifting flawlessly since I got it. The dropper post has been nice. It goes up, it goes down. You don't really think about it. I did have one issue on it, and I'll get to that in a minute. The brakes have been really good. So this dropper post lever, so what I found with this is that cable stretched after a while, and instead of being nice and tight like that, it was sent like this. And what I was doing to help that was, or to resolve that issue, was I was turning the barrel adjuster in, bringing that closer. But all that was doing was pretty much creating a lot of tension in the cable. And actually, as I was riding with the seat extended, I noticed it would come down, and it was dropping probably about an inch every time. And I actually rebuilt the dropper post, thinking it was something wrong with the dropper post in here. I rebuilt the whole thing, put it back together, and I went for a ride, and it was still doing it. So I went, it brought me back to this. So to resolve that, I took the tension off, and all I did was, so that it sat like that. Then I went around the back, I loosened up this bolt here, pulled the cable out a little bit, tightened it back up, and that made this nice and tight again without the barrel adjuster being pulled all the way back, creating the tension. And that solved the problem. All right, some of the things that I not necessarily don't like about the bike. I don't think it's a big problem. It's just some of the things that I've had to keep doing or repeating. And that may be the case with all bikes, I'm not sure. But after a while, I'd say probably about every 4 to 5 rides, I noticed creaking coming from the area of the bottom bracket. And all it is it's dirt that gets inside here, in between the bearings and the crank. And as you pedal, you hear a creaking. It's just that dirt that's just grinding against each other, and making a creaking noise. And so what I have to do is just remove the crank, clean everything out real good, wipe off the dirt, put some new grease in there, put everything back together. But like I said, I probably have to do that every 4 to 5 rides. Well, it depends on what I'm riding. If it's that real, like real dusty, dry conditions, you get a lot of dirt in there. Also, the headset tends to creak. I probably rebuilt the headset, or taken apart the headset 3 to 4 times already, and just cleaning out some of the dirt that can get up in here, some of the dirt and grime, and it causes creaks. And I mean, it only takes 10 minutes to do that. You know, take off the bars, slide the fork out, clean everything out, and re-grease it and put it back together. So headset, bottom bracket, those are really the only 2 things that you have to keep checking on this bike. I mean, some people might not mind a little bit of creak here and there, but I like my bike to be really quiet. I can't stand any creaking. All I want to hear is the hub and the tires rolling. Another thing too is, when I first bought the bike, I know I made a video of it before, these pivots were not greased from the factory. So on my very first ride, the bike creaked. Took it into Trek, and all they did was pretty much tighten up these pivots, and that really didn't solve the problem, because after a few rides it creaked again. And from then on, I just went ahead and actually took all these pivots out and greased them. Put everything back together, torqued it, and I haven't had any issues with it creaking from here. I did the rear axle as well. This pivot here, I did up front in here. So no crease coming from the frame, mostly just from the BB and the headset. But that takes you 5 to 10 minutes to do. It's real easy. It's one of those post-ride checks that I recommend you do. Wash the bike down, check the BB, check the headset. First thing I did when I bought it was upgraded the grips to these ODI Elite, and these are pretty comfortable, and they've had them holding up pretty nice. Another thing is the ergon seat or saddle. It's nice and wide, and it is the SMC ergon saddle. And these are the original pedals that I bought when I got the bike. They're Bontrager. They were about 50 bucks, and they're still holding up pretty good. And recently I just replaced the tires on them. The tires that came with the bike were still pretty good condition, but I just wanted to upgrade and try these Maxxis tires. So in the front I have a Assegai. I wasn't able to get a max grip tire like I wanted. This is the dual compound. It was probably about 73 bucks on Worldwide Cyclery. Like I said, I really wanted the max grip, but they weren't available, so I just bought the dual compound. And they should last a little bit longer than the max grip, and they feel pretty good. And in the back I have the Minion DHR 2, and these are Max Terra EXO. These tires were about 94 bucks at my local bike shop. So another thing I did here was, this is the original dropper post lever, but I went ahead and put some of that Velcro, the harder part, not the soft part of the Velcro, just to add some grip to that lever, because before it was just smooth, and if I wasn't wearing gloves and my hand started to get sweaty, it would just be real slippery. So I just put some of this Velcro on there, and that gives me a lot better grip to change the lever. Another thing too that I added to the bike was this one of components pump, and this one has the multi-tool in it as well. This thing is excellent. When I just recently replaced my tires, I actually just used this tire lever to remove my old tires and install these new ones. It works great. Also, I use this for the spoke wrench when I replace the spoke on it, and also when I replace the valve core on the front wheel, I use this multi-tool. I keep a spare quick link in there, and the multi-tool itself, tire plug kit in here with some of the bacon strips inside there. And what's nice about this is it goes right inside the pump, and then you have the pump and multi-tool. You have everything you need right here, which is good for me because I really don't like carrying a backpack when I ride. So I would highly recommend this bike. Where I live, you got a lot of punchy climbs, some great downhill, awesome climbing. this bike does everything. I've done 25, 30 miles per ride on this bike, and it holds up really good. I got it for 3,500 bucks a year ago. I think the price has gone up now to about $38.99. I know some of the components have changed on it a little bit. Before it came with the 50 mil stem. Now I think it comes with the 45 mil. I'm not sure what other changes were made for the 2022, but I think that's just maybe the bike prices have gone up everywhere. But this bike's awesome. Highly recommend.